Hey guys, Alex here, and today I'm going to be doing bottom 10 films of 2018. This is the other side of the coin from, your typical, top 10. These are the movies that I love, the things I want to talk about, the things I love to remember that I actually cared to see, like those movies that you really, that impacted you, that you're really glad you went to see. These is not that video. These are those films that you sit there and go, how did this go so wrong? And I understand that the filmmaking process is really tough. And I know that from firsthand that, certain decisions are hard to come to, and you really have to talk out certain things to kind of get a good idea of what the hell you're doing and where you want to go with a movie. And, those decisions can be tough. But honestly, when I sat here and I looked at a lot of these movies, a lot of these are films that feel like shameful cash grabs. And what I mean shameful is, shame on them. People usually say shameless cash grabs. They have no shame, and honestly, they should have shame for these. A lot of these really feel like it was a company, and they went, we're going to just do this because we can, because we just want cash from teenagers. I mean, a lot of these are terrible horror films that were just jump scare fest or bullshittiness and all other kinds of crap. I don't even know what to say. These movies are really head scratching on whoever thought that this was a good idea. And I think it's a great way of kind of starting out with the movie Winchester. Winchester is a film about the Winchester Mansion that got built, and it was the wife of the guy who made the Winchester gun, and it just was one of those things where you get into this movie thinking, okay, ghosts in a mansion, this can be cool. There's so many things you can do. There's so many ways you can take it, and with how horror's been going, I just, there's so many great ones. As I said, in my top 10s, I've talked about a lot of these really good horror films that are out, and there's a ton of great horror films that have come out in this decade. It Follows blew me away, and I really liked that. The Witch was a really good film. The Babadook, even though I have a problem with that film, I can still sit here and tell you that it's a really well-made movie, and it's good. Under the Skin blew me away with how kind of strange and the weird turns and twists it could take. And even this year, a film like Hereditary proved that you could still absolutely terrify people even today. And this, it just felt kind of bland, and I don't use this often, and I don't like hearing other people saying it, but Winchester was boring. This is boring in the sense that nothing of value, nothing of importance happens at all in this movie. There is nothing going on. It is just lazy jump scares and every kind of thing they tell you not to do when you're making a horror film. And I'm all for breaking the rules, but this movie, it isn't a rule-breaking film, and you can't lie to me and say that it is, because it's, it's breaking like the rules of good movies in terms of like the things that you want to aim for. And I'm not even saying it's breaking a rule. It's more like breaking. It's going cheap. It's going for the what's down this hallway? oh, I wonder. It's like by the fifth time you should be sitting there going, I wonder if it's a fucking ghost or something that's gonna hop out at me. So, Winchester, I hope you're left in 2018. Good riddance. Shitty movie. And it only gets worse from there. Number 9. When I first heard about this movie, I was intrigued a little bit because I'm a fan of the series. I'm not in love with the series, but I think they're good made horror films today, and that's, as I've said, you've got two camps of horror movies. You have the really terrible, shitty teen horror cash grabs, and you have your wow, this was a really cool horror film camp. And I would throw the Conjuring series. Half of them fall under the really good, oh, okay, cool, wow, that's really surprised me. And then half of them fall under the, wow, wasn't that a fucking pile of shit? Conjuring 1 and 2, good. Annabelle Creation, good. Annabelle, fuck no. And this, The Nun, what the fuck? oh, what's down here? Oh, jump scare. Nobody. No, is anybody even scared of the jump scare anymore? I feel like, you use an effective one here or there. Yes. And I'm not even going to say, here's the thing. A jump scare works when there's tension build up, you don't know when it's coming, and something happens. But you can't have, somebody's walking down a hallway and then you count 1, 2, 3, and on 4 it jumps out every single time. There is the same thing, and it's just not even a scary thing. There's no tension in this movie. This movie, things happen, but you don't care about them. It's just boring garbage. This is worse than Winchester. And if you saw Winchester and you thought it was bad and you didn't see this one, holy shit. This was worse. But there's 8 more movies worse than this on this list. There's more shit. But shaking my head, man. Come on, horror. It's my favorite genre of film. And it just seems like they keep employing people who really either don't care that much about the genre or they're not well versed in it, because or the corporate hands are so all over this thing that they don't let a filmmaker breathe, which is very possible. So I don't want to take personal attacks on the filmmakers who made these movies, because it's very possible that they intended to do something good and then they were told otherwise. So, shame on you, The Nun. Why? You could have done something good. You could have really built something. You could have done something intense, something that built terror over the entirety of the film, and you could have really gotten to something. But instead, they said, hey, let's just make a generic horror film in which we just jump scare the shit out of them and then call it a day, collect our cash, and cash our checks, And it gets worse. It gets worse. Number 8, The Happy Time Murders. Now, the concept of a world in which we have adult-themed Muppets, that can be cool. And there is a movie that I would suggest much over this. That is exactly that. Meet the Feebles by Peter Jackson. I believe it's 87 or 88. I believe it's the movie he did after Bad Taste and right before Brain Dead, if I'm correct. But it's a much better movie. It's much more intention, much more. I don't know that I could say it's more graphic, because Happy Time Murders is kind of offensive with some of the things in here. You have Muppet fucking and just all other kinds of obscenities, but I don't really think Happy Time Murders really has anything of value in it. And at least Meet the Feebles, I mean, it goes into ideas of like Vietnam lingering in the society of these Muppets, and it reenacts the scene from A Deer Hunter with the Russian roulette, and it's just, that movie is funny and outrageous. I'm not gonna say Meet the Feebles is a masterpiece, but it was a filmmaker who cared, Peter Jackson, working on where he was going with things. And Peter Jackson's early work are these really interesting and really original and really truly him films. The Happy Time Murders, just it deserves the Razzie nominations it's gotten. It's one of the leaders for the Razzies, and if you don't know what the Razzies are, the Golden Raspberries are the awards for the worst films of the year in each category, and they are a little funny, but one year Gods of Egypt was up for the worst on-screen duo, and it was Gerard Butler and his accent was the duo, and they said about how his accent was terrible in a movie about Egypt, and that's another horrible movie, but that was not from 2018. That's actually so bad it's good, I think. I think Gods of Egypt is a hilariously terrible movie. I actually own a copy, and don't worry, I got it at a secondhand shop for like 50 cents, so I did not pay full price for that. Yeah, Happy Time Murders, Golden Raspberries, you deserve them. And no offense to the people who worked on this film, and there's some talented people who worked on it. I just, when they sat down and thought those things up, maybe they should have come up with something different. All right, number 7. Hellfest, another horror film on our list. I can appreciate a couple aspects of this movie. There is some thought that was put into some kind of the colors in the set design, although they mean nothing. They're just there just because they kind of look cool. It's not trying to evoke any kind of emotional response in the viewer. It's not like, oh, okay, oh, it's intense, we're going to heighten the tension, red, It's just like, let's just put some blues and greens in the background because I like blue and green. It's not really a make-you-think movie. It's Hellfest, for Pete's sake. It's just it's a generic slasher. It's a first-time director, and being a first-time director, yes, you got to direct something first, but I don't know that you should just start off with a feature-length film. I think you should start with some short films, and I think you should kind of prove you can do stuff. Now, I guess it's a little old-fashioned because that's kind of saying that, things should be based off of merit rather than, oh, I'm in the industry and I know people. Yeah, I should get a chance to make a movie, but I guess I'm old-fashioned in that way. Hellfest. It's not the worst movie, but damn, I really don't think Hellfest was really worth any kind of sense of things. I don't think Hellfest is one you should go out and buy and see. If you want to see, if you're a fan of slashers, and I own quite a bit of slashers, and I'm a big Giallo fan, so I'm not even going to say like that genre is bad. I think there's a lot of great slashers out there, but there's much better than Hellfest. Just because it's a new slasher. Even if you want to go with a new slasher, or hell, even in the Giallo genre, there was a few interesting ones over the last couple of years. I'm blanking on their names right now. I know I hate when I do that, but there's one. It takes place in the desert. It's an Italian-made movie, and it's very hyper stylized. I'm trying to think of what the hell that movie was. If I come up with a name, I'll bring it back up. But there's quite a bit of modern horror that's really good. And as I said, I'm a huge horror fan, but they don't nearly put in the effort into the genre as like they used to. In the 70s, there was such a high echelon of great horror films coming out. And even in the 80s, there was a giant volume of really good horror films coming out. There's tons of good horror films from even before the 70s. I think, you've got Universal, you have Hammer, who kind of changed the game with adding gore into the genre. You have Alfred Hitchcock, who brought his mystery suspense element to it. And Giallo kind of was, in a way, it's a slasher with mystery. And to me, that gives it a really cool element of hanging on of, well, where's this going to go? How is it? Who's behind this? It's cool. It's cool to see those kind of things, and for a film to kind of just say, we're not going to have mystery or suspense or characters or any kind of coherent message or even anything to really latch on to besides, a guy killing people. It doesn't do it for me. But I do think there's even... I really... This is cut from the worst of the Friday the 13th franchise, which is saying a lot. I think Friday the 13th, it has its... I think there's a half of the franchise of Friday the 13th. I'll even say this. The first 6 Friday the 13th movies, I could throw on, and yes, I'm not going to sit down and examine them, or I'm not really going to, dive too deep into them, but I think they're good watches, and I think there's fun to be had in those films. 7 and onward, no. I thought the 7th one is one of the worst movies I've seen in my life, and I know there's fans of it, but Carrie versus Jason should never have been made. It's really bad. It's really bad. And then I'm getting sidetracked again. Fucking Hellfest makes you want to think about anything other than Hellfest. All right, Hellfest, see you in hell, motherfuckers. Get out of here, okay? Number 6. This is so much worse than Hellfest. The top 6 of this list are all movies I would give a 0 out of 10, honestly. They don't deserve a star. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I really... I kind of am one of those graders where, it's like, it's either good, it's a 7 or higher, or it's fucking shit. And it's like a 0 out of 10. But, damn, Slender Man, why was this made? Especially, why'd they wait so long? I mean, you have a character that actually is kind of terrifying, the concept, and even the Slender Man games playing them, there's some fun to be had in those games, and I think there's some scariness to it. Oh my god, this guy's coming for me, my screen's getting, frizzed up, and I gotta get away from him. Hell, had they literally made a movie where it was a person running away from Slender Man in the woods for an hour and a half, it'd have been a better movie than this. I'm not joking. And I'm saying, like, a poorly done. As if it had been as poorly done and it just been that, Slender Man going through the woods after somebody, it'd have been more interesting than this. I mean, these bullshit teen horror films that they keep pumping out and throwing at us, I would really like it if they would just fucking stop. And I'm not even insulting the teen horror genre, because there's some good ones in it. I mean, you could say Halloween's a teen horror movie. I mean, I might disagree with that, but if we were going to throw it in that category, it's the best one ever. I mean, there's just so much about this movie that says that the studios really think that horror fans are idiots. I mean, I'm just going to say it flat, plain and simple. They think horror fans are idiots if they think that this can pass as a actual movie. I mean, there's nothing interesting. There's no reason to watch this movie. There's nothing artistically being done here. There's nothing fun about this movie. It's teens doing dumb fucking shit for, an hour and a half? Slender Man, I don't even want to talk about you anymore. Get the fuck out of here. I'm done with you. Number 5. This is a film that I could honestly say, if you go in with a so bad it's good attitude, you can enjoy it. And I would say liquor yourself up, and you'll probably have a fun time watching this movie. Truth or Dare. It's a failure of filmmaking. I think that's the only thing I could say about it, because I don't know who watched this and okayed this for release. These smiles on the people's faces are so hilarious. The actions that people do are so hilariously false. Like, nobody would act any way like anybody in this movie acts. There are several scenes. I'm just going to talk about 2 scenes outside of the dumb fucking smile shit. The dumb smile shit, like every time, truth or dare, with this really fucking dumb smile. And I know I'm only talking about this. I'm not showing you, but look it up. Look up the trailer. The smile things. Who thought that was scary? I'm sorry. That'll never be scary. Never in a million years would anybody see that smile on these people's faces. Because, sometimes, seeing something that's surreal can bother the subconscious. This isn't that. This isn't, oh my gosh, this unreal, this beyond believable smile is getting at me and terrifying me. No, they're like, it's just bullshit CGI, and it's terrible. There's 2 scenes. There's one involving a pool table, which a guy just gets up on it, and he has to, like, show his dick or something, and he starts getting his pants ready to come down, and he kind of chickens out, and then he, like, slips and just dies. It's so hilariously bad. And then there's a scene at the end where I'm going to spoil it because fuck Truth or Dare. She basically decides she's going to film their Truth or Dare game so that everybody in the world will die. I mean, who in their right mind would be like, you know what, if I'm going out, let's take the whole world with me. Yep, let's just do that. And she puts a YouTube video on, which, first of all, she is just some kid who doesn't have a YouTube channel, and we're supposed to assume that she puts this video online and everybody sees it, because that's how YouTube works. You just decide, I'm going to make a video one day, and boom, you have 8 million subscribers and everyone around the planet shares your video. That doesn't happen. 3 people would have seen it and it would have just disappeared. But anyway, I digress. Just this old guy sees a video and just comes up behind a person, is just like, truth or dare, with his dumb fucking smile. You have to see it. I would say, you know what? Out of every movie on this list, Truth or Dare is the one I actually would suggest you watch. But please don't watch it thinking it's a serious film. Don't go into this thing. It's a terrible movie. It's horrible. It's really doesn't have any redeemable factors. It's so beyond bad that I can't believe in 2018, with 120 years of film, we're still like, this kind of movie can come out. I think this is just an absolute case of showing of how lazy these studios are getting. They're just like, teens will see whatever horror movie we put in theaters because they like getting jolted. They like getting jolted. They like the jump scare. And come on, and you know what? I'm going to call teens out on this. Stop seeing these fucking pieces of shit. They're just going to keep making them if you keep going to see them. If you start holding them accountable and going and seeing original films that actually try then you'll actually get a good horror movie, and you won't be like, oh, I just saw another bad one. I can't believe that terrible looking film from the trailers was actually terrible. And you know what it is? I honestly think a lot of people who go to see these don't even see the trailer. I think they go, oh, there's a horror movie in the theaters. Let's go see that. And you know what? I'm going to throw it on the studio too. Shame on you. You know, these studios need to hold themselves accountable, and they need to start making better movies. I mean, when you have so many great films made to be inspired by and to want to push yourself to make, why the fuck are you okay with making a movie that fucking shitty? I'll never understand it. It suits just greedy and going, we don't have to put a lot of effort in. They're teens, they're dumb, they'll see it anyway. Fuck you, Truth or Dare. All right, number 4, the famous 0% Holmes and Watson. Now, Holmes and Watson, is it as bad as a 0%? Well, actually, it's up to a 10% now. You know, some critics have come out and defended it, and I think that always happens, you know. If a movie is sitting at 0%, a lot of guys are going to go out of their way to see it and go, well, it's not nearly as bad as some people were saying, and because of that, I'm going to give it a positive review. It doesn't deserve that. It doesn't deserve a 0. I'm going to pity them. And then the same thing happens with good movies, too. There'll be one that has 100%, and some asshole just decides, I got to ruin that. Wizard of Oz doesn't deserve 100%. And it's like, who the fuck are you kidding? It's a masterpiece, but, you know, some asshole's got to ruin something for somebody, I guess. Holmes and Watson, is it a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes? Who even defines what that even means, you know? Rotten Tomatoes systems, whether you like it or don't like it. So if I gave this movie a 4 out of 10, it's a 0. Like, I'm giving it, you know, it's a yes or no. I could give it like a 6.2 and it's still a negative score. I think as long as you give it less than a 7, it's negative. And absolutely, it is way below a 7. As I said, at this point, I'd give a 0 out of 10. I am a little bit exaggerating with that. I mean, are there some points of value to give these films? I guess the fact that they were actually finished, it gives it some point value. But at the same hand, there's nothing good about any of these movies. There's nothing like, oh, there was one scene that wasn't absolutely terrible. Should I give that, 3 out of 10 because of that? Or should I sit there and go, this was a terrible movie, it's a 0 out of 10? I don't know. It's kind of a criticism on criticism, I guess. And now we're getting meta. Now we're diving deep with Alex. No, Holmes and Watson, terrible movie. It's got a whole lot of Razzies coming its way. It's tied with Happy Time Murders for most amount of golden raspberries, and it's probably going to win at least a handful. There were a couple funny scenes, and all of them are in the trailer, of course. It's just a half-assed bullshit comedy. There's not really anything particularly that I can pick out that say, like, oh, that was the scene, or that was offensive, or, oh my God, that. It's just kind of poorly done all across the board, and it's not really a movie. Like, it's not even really pieced together. There's nothing going on. There's nothing said. There's nothing there. It's just not good. So, don't see Holmes and Watson. Please avoid it. Number 3... John Travolta's known for being one of those guys who, he has a handful of movies where it's, wow, that's top echelon, movies of their year. Pulp Fiction is one of the best movies ever made. He was in that, and he was in Carrie, which is a really great horror film. And then he's also in movies like Battlefield Earth, which is hilarious, and a 10 out of 10 on a so bad it's good scale. But so bad. And there's this Gaudi. There's actually a Gaudi film that was made, I think about 20 years ago. That's actually not bad. I believe on IMDb it's got like a 7.1 or so. So it's like, You figure if you're gonna do another story on a guy, you gotta top the last one, or at least kind of try to come close. This is just an absolute failure in every sense of the imagination, and it's got a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. And that's the thing, there's so many movies on Rotten Tomatoes where they have, a 3 or a 10 or they have some kind of, like, there's a handful of critics that gave it a decent enough review, and it's like, what, were those people bought? And it's like, Gotti probably tried to buy out critics, and even they were like, no, this is terrible. Not even they would give it a good review. Just stay away from it. We have another 50 Shades movie, so of course that has to make the bottom 10 of the year. Does anybody actually like these movies? I mean, people went and saw them and they made money, so I guess somebody did, but I don't know who could have watched these movies and was like, that's what I was looking for. That's what I wanted. What a good movie. I mean, it's like, unless you have some weird, BDSM or whatever, the whipping shit. Even if you're into that, it's like not even much in the movies. I don't even know that it's not even like a thing anymore. It's like in the first one, and then it kind of goes away, at least from being like a focus. But it's just not a good series. And there's 3 of these fucking things. And honestly, I think this title's kind of ironic because we're kind of freed from having to see another one of these fucking things. So at least we have that to say. At least we're done with this fucking series. I don't even want to waste my life talking about these anymore. 50 Shades Freed. Fuck you. And that leaves the top spot. And I've talked about all of the worst movies of the year. What could possibly be left? I mean, everything you could think of has already been said. There really isn't anything left to talk about, is there? Well, this film that takes the top spot isn't necessarily one that the mainstream people would know about or really have heard about. This is a special kind of film, a film that, for all intents and purposes, it probably deserves to not be talked about. It has literally a 1 on Metacritic, which even the worst of movies still has like a 12 or a 20, maybe a 27. This has a 1 out of 100. Out of everybody who reviewed it, there is like 1 review that gave it like a 10 out of 100. And then averaged in with the other one, still gives it a 1 because technically you gotta round up to 1. It's Death of a Nation. And it's a film that I just don't even want to repeat anything that's in this film. It's a Dinesh D'Souza propaganda film. And I hate talking about politics. I really don't like going there. I don't like, saying one thing or another, just going one way and saying, oh, this is good, this is the politics you should believe in, or any of that kind of bullshit. But this fucking movie, it'll break you, man. And by break you, I mean you won't ever want to see a movie again. Everything about it's is not factual. It's not based in any sort of reality. It's a terrible movie. It really is bad. If you know Dinesh D'Souza's history, you know that he doesn't really care about, valid points or truth. His films really only concern themselves with attacking other people. And I just really would suggest you not see it because, there's quite a bit of offensive things in it. and there's also stuff in it that just, in all honesty, they don't deserve. It doesn't deserve to get talked about. This movie doesn't deserve to be mentioned, and I think going in any kind of detail on this is giving it more attention than it deserves. So, our bottom 10 of the year, with a quick run back here, is Winchester at number 10, The Nun at number 9, The Happy Time Murders at number 8, number 7 is Hellfest, number 6, Slender Man, number 5, Truth or Dare, 4, Holmes and Watson, 3, Gotti, 2, 50 Shades Freed, and number 1, Death of a Nation. All right. Well, you guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I know this is, going to be more of a podcast kind of episode. It was longer than, a little bit of a typical, here's a review kind of thing. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you did, throw a like on down there. Leave a comment on what you thought maybe your top 10 bottom films of 2018, the worst movies of 2018 were for you. If you saw any of these, I feel bad for you, but maybe you can kind of console other poor fucks who saw these things down in the comment section. And if you guys want more of this stuff, subscribe, and we'll have some more fun in the future. All right, guys. Well, that was 2018. It's finally behind us. Aren't we so glad now?